Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Sideline Sports Network. We are excited to bring you another episode of the Linc'd podcast. I am the host with the most, with my co-host with the most, Lindy. What's up, Lindy? We got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, a lot of stuff that we're going to cover and get into about the Eagles. So what's up, Lindy?
Finally back at it again, I think, after a few weeks now.
Couple weeks, yeah. We had to take a couple
Yeah.
weeks off. Things came up and had some other stuff going on. I just came back from a trip. It was fun, but I really want to get into this conversation because we're a little bit behind the curve. We're a little bit behind the news, but this has to be brought up. As we know, many times on this show, I have said, LinkedIn country, let's ride. So the story that we're going to be going over is how close were the Eagles to actually that being a real thing? Like, Eagles Nation, let's fly or whatever. Whatever it is
No.
he said. We know that Russell Wilson is known for being corny and stuff. Even though he's had a good career, he's been a good player. Had a really bad season last year. We will see in Denver if he's going to rebound. But I'll just put it to you like this. The Eagles dodged a massive bullet by not having to deal with Russell Wilson being on the team. Russ had a no trade clause, so he was not interested in waiving it to go to Philadelphia. But what I think people don't understand is I'm not even going to really bring up the growth of Jalen Hurts because we know what the young man has done. But I think that what we have to focus on is how much one move like this can make or break a franchise. Look at how the Eagles are set up, not only with Jalen Hurts at the position, but the future of the team. You know, giving up a lot of picks, giving up the chance to get a guy like Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, who we're going to talk about later when we talk about OTAs and things. The Eagles would have to mortgage a lot of picks. There's a lot of players the Eagles would not have on this team right now. Not only Jalen Hurts, but other players also wouldn't be here. And the one that I really want to focus on is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown would not be with the Eagles if we did this trade because him going to Philadelphia, outside of his financial situation with the Titans and them not being willing to pay him, he really wanted to go here because he wanted to play with his friend Jalen Hurts. So I don't think that AJ would have ended up coming. And I think a lot of things on this team for the present and the future would look drastically different. And I'm actually very happy that things didn't end up the way that they did. Russ was only interested in going to Denver. So good for him. I hope he's happy there now. And the Eagles are going to keep building what they have, which is something they got a really good thing going on. But in short, the Eagles really dodged a bullet by not ending up with Russell Wilson. Lindy, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit you pretty much hit everything, on the head as to how a lot of us would probably feel going into that. And this was a conversation that we had I think a couple of years ago when when it not when it resurfaced, but when it first surfaced, and the idea of people wanting to go after Russell Wilson, and I know Aaron Rodgers was in that conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
Not that group of people not believing in Jalen Hurts, not believing in the head coach, and not believing in some individuals on the coaching staff that we have had. That some of them unfortunately had to go to take other opportunities. Minus it not being unfortunate that Jonathan Gannon's gone. That's a conversation for another day. As we all
Actually, it's
know.
not a conversation for another day because we've already had it multiple times on the show. But go ahead.
But no, there would have been a lot of, as my laptop decides to fall asleep, There was a lot of things. There would have been a lot of things that you would have to consider outside of this, and the Eagles just weren't in a position, to me personally, to kind of uh, put all their eggs in one basket and try to convince themselves that they were at that point a quarterback away from taking themselves over the top um, and having a veteran that has played like an MVP before to take them to the level that they needed to. When for as many years as we have watched this team develop over time, it's not just one position that they it's not just one position that they've always had to address. You know,
Mm-hmm.
one year we had a lack of talent at receiver, and then consistently our linebacking core has been up and down, trying to build, um, build up the defensive line. So we've had more than one rotation, and the list goes on and on. But yeah, one of the biggest things that what came to my mind was you have Coach Sirianni in here, and then you bring in Russ, and it's well, okay, wait a minute, who's going to coach who at that point? You know, so it just to this point you see how the perfect storm brewed, and I don't think you could have painted a better picture if there was a
Mm-hmm.
different quarterback under center.
Yeah, and the one thing about Russell Wilson that's been brought up a lot, especially during his last season with Denver, it was brought up a few times in Seattle how he used to rub a lot of people the wrong way, and people just didn't really gravitate towards him. You know, you had the whole thing in Seattle with Richard Sherman and a lot of those defensive guys that just kind of felt like the team was coddling to him, and a lot of things that happened was very uncomfortable. So it kind of does give you deja vu, kind of like a Carson situation, which was going on in Philly at the time. So I don't think it would have been good for the team whatsoever. I
I
think
mean,
it would have
wasn't
been I think it would have been the exact opposite, because this past season you actually saw the opposite take place, because
yeah.
you had all the people gravitating to Jalen. And that's a major reason why the team was thriving and having the success that we were able to see them have. So I really think that's a big thing that you got to focus on. Russ, not trying to attack his character in any way. I know that he's, not a bad guy, not a bad person, but his
Would he be
teammates
that
have
leader? Would he
had,
be that quarterback you want to
he
play
has
for?
had a
Yes.
history of making his teammates uncomfortable. That's the point that
Yeah.
I'm trying to get across.
Yeah. And I mean, wasn't there always two sides to the story between him and Pete Carroll in Seattle anyway? What
Mm-hmm.
it's so yeah, it's just that would have bothered me to no
Mm-hmm.
end. Like how would that relationship have been between Sirianni and Russ, and how would they be,
Not good.
and how would they try to build something? It
Would
just
Nick
didn't.
even be here is the question,
Yeah.
because his coach,
Would he be
Russ's
gone
coach,
after 1 year?
whoever
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett, is not there anymore. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
giving Nathaniel a pass, but at the same time, was he really that bad of the coach? I kind of feel like he got his share of the blame, but I do think that he got a little bit more than he should have with the whole Russ situation. And the thing that I really love about the Eagles is how great of a relationship that
Oh yeah.
Jalen has with Nick. There's times where we see Nick is a very animated guy, which upset a lot of people last year for reasons that I don't know. I guess some people just don't have a personality and they want to hate on anything. But, we've seen this guy yelling at Jalen and stuff and getting in his face and stuff on the sideline. But these guys work so well together, and they love each other, and they appreciate each other. And, the work that they do is really special. So I think there's just some things that don't show up on the game some things that you don't see on the tape or in the stat box or whatever you want to say. And I think the relationship that they have is very important. And I think that as long as they continue to build the relationship that they have, it's going to get better, and the team is really going to benefit from that.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Sirianni. Just keep going back to that introductory press conference and how
Mm.
completely offset, awkward, and just not as much as ill prepared, but um, not really understanding Philadelphia as a whole between the fan base and the media. And look,
He's done so
look how
well,
that
man.
turned out.
I'm really
Look how
proud
that
of
turned
how
out.
much Nick has come along.
Yeah,
Really am.
yeah, yeah, it's completely admirable. And I think he celebrated a birthday yesterday too. So
Yeah, happy birthday to Coach. And we're looking forward to seeing what he has in store for this upcoming season. So,
a
guys,
Lombardi.
hopefully
Yeah,
getting right back there on the doorstep in
exactly.
Las
Yep.
Vegas, man. So
He knows. That
the
whole team
Eagles
knows. Yep.
the Eagles definitely look to have a strong team, a team that is going to be looking to get back to that stage.
Hmm.
After last night, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs were given their Super Bowl ring. So you're seeing stuff on social media, and you know, Jamar Chase. I'm not sure why Jamar decided it was a good idea to say, Pat who or whatever, and then Pat responds to him, that's who. So Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but I think all the posts and stuff on social media, I think any of the Eagles seeing that, knowing that, those could have been their rings, that could have been them. I think it's gonna give them the motivation. Not that they really need any motivation, but the extra push to try to get back. So OTAs has been going on, and OTAs is a time of the year where I gotta try to get people to calm down, because I think on this show last year, I think it was when Derek Gunn was saying stuff about how the team didn't have any confidence of Jalen because of whatever, he threw 3 interceptions at the OTAs. So the OTAs is a good time. I'm not saying that there's no positives you can take from it. It's a good time to get the team together, do some light work, but you don't want to put too much. I don't think you don't want to put too much stock into everything. But there's a couple of names that have been brought up during the OTAs that I think we should focus on here. So, first one is our man Quez Watkins, who, going into last year, he had expectations because of what he did in 2021. Had a pretty good season, but he really was not a factor last season, and he had some tough moments down the stretch. Had that game against Washington, which was the first loss of the season. The catch and the fumble and the Super Bowl dropping passes. And you know
Hmm.
how the Philadelphia fans react to stuff like that. They're like, oh man, we got to get this guy out of here. But Quez is an interesting guy for me. He is. I want to see what he's going to do. I want to see if he's really going to rebound from this past season, because we have seen him play and we have seen him be explosive and make big splash plays for the offense and stretch the field. He is a guy that can bring some good things to the team, which already has a
Yeah.
lot of weapons. So it's not like teams are going for him when we're game planning against, or when teams are game planning against the Eagles. They're saying, well, AJ Brown's a beast, Devontae Smith, beast. All these guys, Goddard out there catching the ball, and then trying to stop Jalen Hurts from running. People are not only focusing on Quez. So, Quez, you do not have all the pressure. But when the ball is coming to you, he just needs to come and make the plays when the opportunities are there, which is not going to happen all the time. He's not a focal point of the offense. He's going to probably be the third receiver in the best case scenario. Third wide receiver, that is, not like the third
Yeah.
receiving option necessarily. because we think that will go to Goddard. But you know what? I really am not ready to completely give up on Quez, which is why whatever's going to happen, they brought in Zacchaeus from Atlanta, had like 500 or 600 yards last year. So there's competition in there for that position, but I'm not throwing the towel to Quez yet. I think that he can still have something to offer.
Yeah, I mean, Olamide and Quez, they are two different receivers. Um, you have a lot more of an explosive upside with Quez
Mm-hmm.
than you do Zacchaeus. I think the only issue to me when I look at the core as a whole, when you address the initial rotation, you're looking at those first three, those first four up front. Outside of the physicality that AJ Brown provides for you, um, I don't I don't really foresee somebody else that can really take that take that spot in terms of the wide receiver position,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is it can be a bit of an issue because then you lose the element of versatility when you have more than one guy out there. Um, but in terms of Quez, it's the last year of his rookie deal, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and we knew bringing him in as a sixth round pick that there was a level of upside there. Granted, it's not going to be similar to somebody that gets drafted a lot higher than him, and I don't think it's also fair to put him in the same conversation as the implosion of Jalen Rager, because that's a
Rager was
completely
a first
different
round pick.
story. That's a completely different story. Um, but this is going to be his time. This is going to be his moment. Um, you do know the fact that you expect to see a lot of growth from somebody in their rookie year going into their sophomore going into their junior, and I'm talking as the basis of how a rookie deal works. Um, and we have seen a level of growth, which is a good thing. But this is where he's going to have the most motivation to really stand out and to really prove that he is going to be that solidified number three at that position. It's really still a position that the Eagles are looking to looking to fill because I don't truly believe that it's Quez's position to lose. Um, Hence the level of competition that there is, which it's not necessarily very high, but you know, I think everybody gets the picture here. You said it to open the topic. Let's not blow things out of proportion. It's just OTAs. Let's see how these guys are after 6 weeks when training camp starts on the 25th. OTAs are the time to see where to gauge where everyone's initial motivation is. How good of shape are they in? Are your draft picks as advertised? Are they ready to come in and get some work done? And we've been
Mm-hmm.
hearing that from Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, which is an awesome thing. But again, training camp, you get, that's that's it, man. That's where you go and fight for the 53-man roster. And for a lot of the lesser players, you want a practice squad spot to eventually move up and contribute and make plays. And we've seen how it worked out for Reed Blankenship, and he comes in
Yep.
a pinch from injury, and there you go. The opportunities are there. So um, I'm rooting for Quez. I am rooting for Quez. It's only fair to see where he comes out of this at the end of his rookie deal. Maybe he'll be in a better position than um, Miles Sanders was. Having 1,000-yard season, and unfortunately for his sake, he's not here. There's reasons for that, but yeah. Long story short, I'm rooting for Quez, and you know, time to time to put yourself to work, buddy. Let's see it.
All right. So, in other news, let's talk about the Eagles draft picks. Let's talk about Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith coming from Georgia to the team. The Eagles have been drafting all these Georgia Bulldogs the last couple of years. There was actually a story about Jalen Carter where supposedly he had the blocking sled and he like broke it in half or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
pretty crazy, man. I mean, this guy's a big, strong dude and everything, but I don't know what to say, man. I don't know if I should really say, Jalen, I'm really impressed with what you've done. Got the chance to interview Jalen at the draft. He's a good young man. I know that there was questions about him and his character, but I really think that him being around the guys that we have here is going to be really good for him in his growth right now. But I don't know what to say, man. Should I really be impressed by Jalen and his power and his strength to break the blocking sled, or should I just be more disappointed that the Eagles are a top organization and they have like crap equipment that I just don't know how your blocking sled should be able to break. If you're an NFL team, I think you should have the best equipment. I mean, you guys are making millions of dollars, billions of dollars even for some of these teams. So it's kind of crazy. But
I'll
I
have to be here with that, though.
I am very excited to see what's going to happen because we know
Right.
that Fletch came back for another year, but we know that it's going to be over soon for him. At some point, he's been one of the longest tenured Eagles, but he's not the same guy that he used to be. So there needs to be somebody that's going to come in and take over that position and be that face of the defense, which is built from the trenches. So seeing what the Eagles did the last 2 years, drafting Jordan last year and drafting Jalen this year, does not surprise anybody because we know that that's probably the most position that they value in the offensive line too, as obviously. But I'm ready to see what these young guys are going to do in the defense. I think that it's going to be exciting. I think that it's going to be fresh. It's going to be something new. It's going to be something new. We know what Fletch has done and what Brandon Graham has done for the team, but
Mhm.
we're ready to see what is going to happen of this new era that we're getting ready to go towards. So I think everybody should be excited for what's the things to come. But Jalen Carter, I'm very excited for this young man and what is he going to do in his rookie season. I think he's really going to make a positive impact.
Yeah, and you said it from the terms of the veterans. They're still going to provide plenty of value no matter what, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the level of experience. It's the it's the experience on the the biggest stage of the game, and what it's like to be a professional NFL player. I think is the most important when it comes to these rookies and these second year players, because um, you never stop learning. And I think that's most important for these guys. But when you take into account that just watching the Eagles drafts over the last couple of years and uh, really taking the all business aspect about it and you know hitting that next level and saying, we mean business. We're gonna grab more Bama players. We're gonna grab more Georgia players. A lot of these guys from from these higher level schools where they're they're just building a bigger sense of professionalism to take to that next level, the work ethic that they have, and it's the awesome examples of what Jalen Hurts has become,
Mm-hmm.
bringing Devontae Smith along, and now we have another Smith that we have to watch out for with Nolan. We got another Jalen with Jalen Carter. But yeah, this is where that new regime, that next evolution per se, um, should really begin. And I think these I think these kids are going to take it seriously because again,
You have to.
imagine these rookies, imagine these kids, these rookies getting drafted. They're younger than us. They're younger than us. So I
Kind
mean,
of makes you feel old, huh?
well, I'm gonna
Maybe
be
a little bit.
I'm going to be celebrating a birthday in a couple of weeks, and so it's going to be different to look forward to because it's a different decade. But nonetheless, I mean,
Nothing wrong
yeah,
with the dirty 30, baby.
right. Yeah, I don't feel I'm not gonna I still don't feel it. I don't feel that I'm in my late 20s, which is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, even outside of Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, and you have the chemistry, you have the camaraderie of a lot of these kids going to the same school, being a part of the same program, being teammates before. The Keely Ringos of the world, Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, N'Kobe Dean, these. And
Yeah.
again, we've talked about this in an earlier episode, how rare it is to have a bunch of these kids playing together at the professional level. And I think they know what it's going to take to say that, if we did it at a high level in college, we have the confidence and we have the talent to certainly do it at the NFL level. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been. Um, Again, it's based on a projection, but they wouldn't have been drafted as high as they were. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to, from a defensive front standpoint, I'm looking forward to seeing how they implement a duo of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis together. And more of that will be, of course, looked into and discussed when training camp shows up. But
Mhm.
again, OTAs are that point in time where you want to see if these kids are are just completely invested in how they want to be an NFL player and build themselves into having a career like this. And if they are as advertised to, the franchises that have spent top 30 visits on these guys, and how they're coming in and taking the program as a whole. So it's awesome to see that Nolan and Jalen are really all in as advertised so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all these guys being teammates is something that's really interesting because when you get to the league, you're meeting all these new people. You got to learn how to like play with different guys. But a lot of these guys have played with each other on some level or familiar with each other on some level at least. Even
Mhm.
even if they played against each other in college. Some of the Alabama guys and the Georgia guys probably faced each other a couple times, during their run. And then you have guys that have been teammates, man. So they know each other, they know what they do well, and they know what they don't. So I think it's a good thing when you have that because there is a learning curve when you get to the league and trying to just learn everyone's personality, learn all your teammates, and learn how you guys are going to work together. But a lot of these guys, they do know how to work together, which I think is a really positive uh, thing when you look at it. Um, but that's it for OTAs. Like I said, does anyone really want to put all their eggs in the basket of OTAs? I'm not going to be one of those guys that tells everyone what they're supposed to think. If you guys like talking about OTAs, good for you. But personally, I just don't focus on it too much because I don't think it's overly important. I like the fact that the guys are getting together and doing some work and getting to know each other. But nah, I mean, if somebody plays like crap at OTAs or looks like the best player in the world, I'm not really gonna say too much. I'm gonna say We got training camp. We're not putting pads on. Let's see what happens in the preseason. Let's see what when these guys are getting real snaps. Let's see what happens the first couple of the season. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. But like I said, I'm not going to tell anybody what they think. That's just my opinion on the situation.
I mean, if anything, with OTAs, you can probably create more of a stock and not so much the starters that you already know of, but and not so much the rookies to a degree, but a lot of these, a lot of these players that are a lot lower in the depth chart. You're looking at the practice squad group, and you're looking at some of these offensive or defensive players that have had a lot more special team snaps, and seeing if they can show something to and to break away from those different kinds of responsibilities. Like, I think Christian Ellis was one of those kids in the conversation, and seeing if he can provide some extra competition to the linebacker core that doesn't. It's not flashy again on paper, but the level of experience is there with bringing in Nicholas Morrow, who Sean Desai knows very well from the time in Chicago, and one of those serviceable players, much like Edmonds at the safety position. So there's some depth there that you can get into a little bit. The running back position with Trey Sermon, and if Trey Sermon can show something to be a bit competitive with those extra guys being brought in. Kennedy Brooks, who a lot of people thought was going to show something. So, I mean, it's more so those guys that are getting more of the spotlight than a lot of your higher tiered
That's a really good point.
per se. Yeah,
that's a really good point. I think that when you look at it that way, it is good for those guys that because we know who our top guys are going to be, but
yes,
these guys that are like on the bubble and stuff, and we don't know if they're going to get a roster spot. This is their chance to really like show out and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm here," and then they try to carry that momentum to training camp, and then if they really continue it in training camp, that's when things start to get interesting. So there is some value in OTAs, but I just don't focus on it.
Does when J-Jaw got moved to tight end count?
Oh man. Well, dude, you know what's crazy is every time I check Twitter and I see like any random post, I go to read the comment section. There's always this one account that's like JJ Stan or whatever. Like there's still a Stan account of him on Twitter despite everything that's going on.
Imagine
so
that.
I don't know where he's at and what he's doing, but this conversation can take a serious turn.
It's almost like J-Jaw and Mac Hollins are in the same category.
Well, what's crazy is Mac Hollins was actually looking halfway decent when he went to the Dolphins.
And he still contributes to a degree, so maybe not. I think I just made his name a little worse.
But I mean, to be fair, even if you look at Mac's career with the Eagles, everyone talks about the one play that he made like on the Monday Night Football game, but at least he has that. Like, do you even have a highlight of JJ for his career? I don't even think you can remember one play.
Maybe the first play of the game versus maybe the first
preseason thing against the Ravens or whatever.
No, I was thinking of 2019, the first play of the game when the Eagles just got the ball and Wentz hit him over the middle over top two defenders. It was against the Cowboys. It was a low scoring game, but
that play,
yeah. J-Jaw stood tall. He made a nice catch over the middle, and whatever, it was like a gain of 20 plus or something. That's about it. Or the fumble recovery in the end zone to still have it count as a touchdown, because I think I forget who it was that fumbled. But
one day we're gonna have to tell the young generation what it was like going from JJ and Jalen Reagor to Devontae and AJ.
My good lord!
So we're gonna have to tell them, man, because this is gonna be a tale to tell. So as we're getting closer to the end of the show, the Eagles saved a lot of money with all the replacements that they brought in, whether it was a draft, whether it was free agency. Obviously, lost some big names. You lost T.J. Edwards. You lost Javon Hargrave. You lost quite a few guys that have been contributing, not only last season, really the last couple of years. But that's the way the NFL works, man. You're not going to be able to pay everyone. There's a salary cap, and people are going to come and go. And you know what? I'm not really too upset with any of the guys for leaving. I mean, obviously, we talked about the CJ situation. I think that when it's all said and done, CJ is going to really regret the way that whole thing was handled. But that's another story.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was a very important year, especially for the draft. That, okay, we have to get guys that can come in and contribute this year and make an impact this year, but we also want guys that we believe can be very important pieces that we can continue to build around so we can have long-term success at those positions and really high value positions too. Like I was saying, the defensive line, high value position. Nolan Smith, edge rusher, high value position. Carter, defensive tackle, high value position. We believe those guys are gonna be able to come in and really be effective. So I'm very pleased with what is happening. I think people just need to be more accepting of the fact that everything is not like Madden where you can keep all the players and turn the salary cap on and off when you want to. If it was, then stuff would be a lot easier. And it would also be a little bit chaotic, I think, in the NFL, which is why I'm glad that there's at least some type of a salary cap and financial fair play. But I like what the team has done. I like what the team has done. I like what direction that they're going into. I think that we have a young nucleus that we're going to be able to build around and keep having success for years and years and years. Even though we did lose some guys that really contributed.
Yeah, that's ultimately where you're going to hone in on most of your attention, engaging how your next not so much. I guess you can consider it a evolution when you consider the players that you have brought in. Are they going to miss Javon Hargrave? I definitely think they're going to. I don't know how fair or not it is to expect a guy like Jalen Carter to come in and give you the level of production that Hargrave had last year right off the bat. Regardless of us trading up for him and this, that, and the third, there's just a lot more. There's just a lot more to it. Javon built that up over a long period of time in the NFL to be the player that he is. The running back position, again, you decide not to pay Miles Sanders. He gets his money in Carolina, and you bring in a combination of DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny to a running back room where you already have a lot of bodies. But and we can continue to talk about it that way. But I think we understand where this team is continuing to go, and I think the level of consistency in that path that they have built, especially dating back to 2020, has been an awesome growth.
Mm-hmm.
The issues that this
team was
yeah,
and where this team is now,
how old they were. Yep.
I don't think nobody ever could have predicted this happening. When we were ending the 2020 season, everything was in disarray, and we were like, what is going on, what direction is this team going. But what they've done is very impressive. So to Howie Roseman and the people that's doing all the stuff behind the scenes, guys are doing a fantastic job.
And I don't even think that I don't even think it's fair to exclude the players that we were able to retain. Yeah, did some get a little more money like the Slay situation? He
Mm-hmm.
got more guaranteed. I don't think he has as much annually now as he did in his previous deal, but to be able to figure something out with him, bringing back Bradbury and
Yeah.
having solidarity in the secondary once again is
James
is such a breath of fresh
James
air.
had more teams
Solid.
interested in him, by the way.
Yeah, he certainly did. Um, but I think a bigger picture we can take away from this is how much more of an attractive market the Eagles how, how much more of an attractive market the Eagles are. What this, from an ownership standpoint, from a GM standpoint, what Howie Roseman has been able to do, um, in just in just in just bettering his craft, whether it's being a better listener on draft day, taking the chances that he is, um, and a lot of just a lot more positivity that's flowing around this franchise, that you're just becoming more of an attractive destination for other players to
Mm-hmm.
want to come in. And in talking about that, I don't think I don't think a deal or a chance to renegotiate contracts remains open for a Darius Slay. I don't think you get that kind of a chance to have the opportunity to bring back Bradbury, or
Guys really want to play here.
a lot of these free agency moves. You finally have stability at quarterback. You have a head coach that everybody wants to play for. Your quarterback is an awesome leader that's still under 25 years old, which which is substantial in itself. There's so many positives to build on here. That
Yeah.
as young as the team is, they just came off of a Super Bowl appearance, and yeah, we're still
Saw a thing today,
punching.
not to cut you off. I saw a thing today.
Yeah.
It was like Philadelphia 2023. Um it was like a chain reaction of chaotic events that took place. Starting with the Eagles lost Super Bowl. Um, then there was like the thing where the Philadelphia water was like polluted or whatever, and they were saying don't drink any of the water because it's polluted. And then
Oh wow.
uh, I think it was last week the I-95 got shut down
I seen that.
because
Yeah,
of
the
because
bridge
there's
collapse.
like a
Yeah,
bunch of crazy stuff going on. But I do think you're right. And I think Jalen really has that factor. Like I'm not gonna put him on the level of Mahomes, but I will put him on the level of someone like Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, where people are saying this guy's one of the best in the game. So if we go to this team, then we're going to have a chance to win. So
top three.
I think that having him is going to do amazing things for the team because guys, like I said, always gravitating towards this guy and want to play there, and the culture of Philadelphia that is put into place is very good and it's very strong. So I am very happy with the team. What has gone on? We knew we were going to lose guys, but
That can't happen without
team
success either.
team is looking very strong, and they're looking again to be one of the top teams of the league. So that about wraps us up for tonight's show. Stick around, guys, because I will be back at about 15 minutes from now, 8 p.m. Eastern, to
Oh.
do the gauntlet, where we're going to be having another interesting show. But Lindy, do you have anything that you would like to announce or anything that you would like to tell people that you're doing before we sign off?
No announcements that I can relatively think of. I'm still pondering the idea of coming back to my own platform as a channel. I haven't decided anything yet, but yeah.
All righty. Well, if anything happens, I'm sure you guys will be made aware of that either on the show or somewhere else. But with that being said, LinkedIn country, let's ride.